Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. Hope you guys are doing great. Alright, so the new Supergirl movie is finally out, and the reviews and scores are officially in, and let me tell you, it is a massive disappointment. James Gunn and DC kept hyping this up as a unique masterpiece, this dark cosmic western, but the final product is nowhere near what we expected. The film is getting dragged by both critics and fans for some really weird issues with its pacing, story, and direction, and the ratings are definitely showing it. In today's video, we're going to break this movie down completely and see exactly why this highly anticipated project fell so flat. From Millie Alcock's performance to comic accuracy and the film's biggest flaws, we're covering it all. So before we jump into it, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know down in the comments. Did these negative reviews let you down too? Or do you still have hope for this new universe? Now, let's not waste any time and look at how bad these scores actually are. When the Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic ratings dropped, it became crystal clear that we were dealing with a major letdown. Critics are saying the biggest blows to the film came from the screenplay and its incredibly uneven pacing. Even though James Gunn insisted on making this a strict adaptation of Tom King's masterpiece comic, it just didn't translate well to the big screen at all. The movie gets stuck somewhere between a blockbuster superhero flick and a philosophical sci-fi drama, and it has no idea what it wants to be. Because of that, the second half drags so badly that you'll honestly get bored out of your mind. Look, I've watched the movie myself, and I want to give you guys my own breakdown. Let's start with the cast and the story. The plot is inspired by and follows the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic by Tom King. The writer hired to handle the screenplay was Ana Nogueira, who's actually currently working on 2 other DCU projects right now, the Wonder Woman and Teen Titans movies. James Gunn had mentioned that Supergirl wasn't even supposed to be the second theatrical release for the DCU, but because the script was supposedly so amazing, they fast-tracked it into production. Well, now that the movie is out, it seems it wasn't that good after all. Since the story is a direct adaptation, I feel like sticking too closely to the comic completely took away the writer's creative freedom, and that's why the screenplay feels so off. Honestly, if James Gunn hadn't pushed so hard for strict comic accuracy and had given the writer more room to breathe, the script probably would have turned out a lot better. That said, we shouldn't completely write off Ana Nogueira just based on this one movie. I think we need to wait and see at least one more project from her before we can truly judge her talent. Plus, the script isn't the only issue here. There are other flaws, and the screenplay is just part of it. It's not totally unwatchable, but man, it could have been so much better. Alright guys, let's get into the core of the breakdown. The reality is, Supergirl had all the potential in the world to be a genuinely great and memorable movie, but unfortunately, a handful of major issues got in the way. Let's kick things off with the positives first. Visually, the film looks great, and the special effects are really solid and eye-catching. The flashback scenes showing the past of Krypton are incredibly well done and will definitely hook you. But easily the biggest highlight of the entire movie is Millie Alcock's phenomenal performance as Supergirl. She proved beyond a doubt that this new universe is going to have a seriously badass, charismatic, and memorable Supergirl. Kara's character development itself was done really well, but unfortunately, that's exactly where the movie's problems start. Except for Kara herself, none of the other characters are fleshed out at all. They literally just feel like they're in the movie just to be there. For example, the relationship between Kara and Ruthye is completely underdeveloped, and Ruthye's character feels incredibly shallow. Lobo's appearance in the movie is cool and pretty engaging, but if you're a comic book fan, you definitely would have preferred to see him way more brutal and badass, just like his hardcore version in the comics. But the real disaster of this movie is the main villain, Krem. The character development for this villain is so bad, it literally ruins the story. The actor playing Krem actually gives a solid performance, but it's a shame his potential is completely wasted. The reason for this is that the filmmakers actually cut 10 minutes from the movie, scenes that showed Krem's past and backstory, and dropped them from the final edit. Honestly, if those 10 minutes had stayed in the film, it definitely would have helped the villain's character development and the entire structure of the movie. Instead, Ruthye is barely fleshed out, and her relationship with Kara comes off totally superficial and half-baked. It makes no sense because the entire plot revolves around these two traveling together, yet the creators couldn't build any real chemistry or a deep bond between them. Now, let's move on to the more technical aspects of the film, which unfortunately dealt the heaviest blows. First off, the soundtrack is just terrible. It doesn't fit the vibe, the cosmic atmosphere, or the pacing of the scenes at all, and in some places it's honestly just annoying. On top of that, the directing is average at best. Some of the cuts during the action scenes are super sloppy, and even Supergirl's flight sequences could have looked way more natural and polished. The editing is a straight-up disaster and completely wrecks the movie's pacing. But my absolute biggest issue with this movie is the final scene, where Supergirl kills Krem herself. Yeah, I know that's exactly what happens in the comic, but I wasn't a fan of it in the comic either. This paradox makes no sense. Kara spends the entire movie begging Ruthye, telling her you shouldn't kill people or seek revenge. But then at the end, she tells Krem, "You poisoned my dog, so I'm killing you," and finishes him off. They definitely could have changed this scene to make it way better and more logical. But, well, like I said from the start, because James Gunn insisted on making this a strict adaptation of a comic, the writer's hands were completely tied. Alright guys, if we put all these factors together to see how the movie holds up as a whole, I've got to say Supergirl is just not a good movie. We're looking at a below-average film that suffers mostly from its screenplay and directing, and these flaws completely drag down the high potential of the acting and special effects. But let's be fair, despite all these frustrating flaws, it's not an absolute train wreck or a total embarrassment like The Flash, where you can't even stand to watch it. It's not like you're suffering from the first second to the last, but it's definitely not the masterpiece James Gunn promised us either. Taking into account all the pros and cons we just talked about, I'm giving this movie an overall score of 6 out of 10. It's a disappointing rating for a project that could have been so much better. But guys, this negative score and the film's flaws don't mean we should completely give up on the new DCU. Look, in every cinematic universe, you're bound to get some bad or average movies eventually, and no franchise stays at its peak forever.
The most important thing here is for James Gunn to learn from the directing and screenplay mistakes of this film and make sure these structural flaws don't happen again as the DCU moves forward. Personally, I still have high hopes for this universe, and I think it can absolutely crush it with future movies. Alright, now it's your turn. Let me know down in the comments, have you seen this movie yet? What did you think of Millie Alcock's performance in that final scene? Do you think James Gunn can actually save the DC universe or not? I read and like every single comment, so definitely drop your thoughts below. Thank you guys so much for sticking around until the end of this video. If you enjoyed this review and breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, share it with your comic book friends, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of the upcoming videos. Until next time, and another blockbuster review, take care of yourselves. Peace out.